I reached for my phone again, scrolling through my contacts. Surely there was another Wayne in there, a potential candidate to shape into my personal safety net. Maybe that IT guy from work who keeps stealing glances at me during meetings. Hi there, Christina here. You know, I've always believed men are like clay, moldable if you know how to work with them. And Wayne, he's the softest, most pliable clay I've ever come across. Don't get me wrong, he's sweet, almost too sweet, and that just makes everything so much easier. You should see the way he gazes at me with those kind, puppy dog eyes whenever I need something. Like last week, when my coworker Mia completely botched our presentation, leaving me in shambles. Wayne sat by my side for 2 hours, letting me rant endlessly. He even surprised me by ordering my favorite Thai takeout without me having to say a word. Seriously, who does that? Christina, do you want to pick where we eat tonight? He'll ask, even though I know he's been craving that new burger joint down the street. But he never pushes, never complains. Sometimes I'll change plans at the last minute just to see how he'll react, and every time he simply smiles and says, "Whatever makes you happy, babe." Guys like Wayne are rare these days. Most men I've dated caught on to my games pretty quickly. They'd set boundaries or worse, call me out. But Wayne, he's different. When we're out with friends, they sometimes give me these knowing looks, especially when Wayne jumps up to do something for me. Jessica even pulled me aside once and said, "Girl, you've got that man completely wrapped around your finger." She wasn't wrong. I know what some people might think. You're terrible for taking advantage of him like that. But honestly, when you find someone willing to bend over backward for you, why wouldn't you take full advantage? Wayne's like a perfectly trained pet, always eager to please, always ready to fulfill my requests. The best part? He probably thinks I'm this amazing, appreciative girlfriend. And sure, I do appreciate him, just not in the way he probably assumes. I appreciate his usefulness, his convenience. So, yeah, Wayne's considerate, sweet, and dependable. And that makes him absolutely perfect for what I need anyway. As long as he keeps believing he's the luckiest man alive to have me, this arrangement will work out just fine. Hey, I'm Wayne. Maybe I should have seen it coming, but when Christina barged into my apartment that evening, glowing with excitement, I couldn't think about anything other than how radiant she looked when she was truly happy. "Wayne, Wayne, I got it." She practically danced across my living room, her heels clicking against the hardwood. The promotion. They gave it to me. I was genuinely thrilled for her. Christina had worked tirelessly for this, putting in late hours and stressing over every detail. "That's amazing, babe," I said, pulling her into a hug. Her familiar perfume filled my senses. "We need to celebrate." I'd already prepared. Her favorite Vietnamese takeout was on the counter, along with a bottle of that pricey rosé she mentioned once. The $50 kind, not the cheap stuff. That's the thing about Christina. She has expensive taste, and I usually don't mind indulging her. We were halfway through dinner when she set her glass down and gave me that look, the one that always makes me uneasy, like she's planning something big. "It's so," she began, twirling her fork in her noodles. "I was thinking we should celebrate properly. Nothing huge, just dinner with my closest friends at LeBlanc." My stomach nodded. LeBlanc was one of those trendy upscale places where appetizers alone cost as much as a full meal elsewhere. "Oh?" When were you thinking? This Friday, she said, her eyes sparkling. Please say you'll come. I need you there. You've been my rock, and I want to share this moment with you. I shifted uncomfortably. Friday. Actually, cancel, she interrupted, placing a hand on my knee. Please. It would mean the world to me. There it was again. That subtle, unmistakable way she got what she wanted. And like always, I found myself nodding. Friday arrived too quickly. I showed up at LeBlanc in my best blazer, only to realize I was the only guy at a table of 6 women, all dressed to the nines. Wayne. Christina waved me over to the seat beside her. You remember everyone, right? I nodded politely. I vaguely recognized Jessica and Amy from past meetups, but the others were just names I'd heard in Christina's work stories. As I sat, I noticed the menus had no prices. Never a good sign. We already ordered some appetizers to share, Christina announced, and everyone get whatever you want. It's a celebration. The way she said it made my skin crawl. Her friends began ordering $30 cocktails and $75 entrees without a second thought. Every time the waiter came around, another bottle of wine or platter of food was added to the bill. Christina kept giving me these little glances between conversations as though checking to ensure I was still there. Her friends barely acknowledged me, except to ask me to flag down the waiter for more drinks. I sipped my water, the only thing I'd ordered, and braced myself for what was coming. I already knew how this night would end. Sitting there, surrounded by my closest friends, at that gorgeous table, I felt unstoppable. Everything was going exactly as I'd planned. Watching Wayne squirm was just an added bonus. He looked so uncomfortable. It was almost adorable. Another round of Cosmos? I asked the waiter with a playful smile. I flagged down the waiter before anyone could voice a protest. The soft glow of the chandelier overhead reflected off the rosy cocktails at our table, making them shimmer like jewels. Perfect for an Instagram post, if you ask me. Jessica leaned in slightly, her voice tinged with tipsy excitement. Christina, this is incredible. I can't believe we're actually at LeBlanc. I've been dying to try their Wagyu steak. Go for it, I encouraged, catching the slight tension in Wayne's jaw as he sat across from me. It's a special night. We're celebrating not just my promotion, but all of us strong, successful women. I raised my glass and locked eyes with Wayne. He looked distracted, like he was mentally calculating something, probably the growing cost of the evening. Perfect. The dishes arrived in carefully orchestrated waves, each plate a miniature masterpiece. My Chilean sea bass came resting on a bed of saffron risotto and was even topped with edible gold leaf. Why not? Madison ordered the truffle pasta, Amy chose the lobster, and Mia couldn't resist the chef's special tasting menu. The table resembled a spread straight out of a luxury lifestyle magazine. Wayne, sweetie, how's your chicken? I asked with an exaggerated sweetness, knowing full well he'd ordered one of the least expensive items on the menu. Classic Wayne. He forced a smile. It's fine. Just fine? I replied, placing a generous bite of my sea bass on his plate, ensuring some of the gold leaf made its way over. Here, now you can say you've eaten gold. The girls erupted into laughter, and I felt that familiar thrill of control. This was my moment, and everyone was playing their parts perfectly. Between bites of $200 steaks and sips of $30 cocktails, I peppered the conversation with anecdotes about Wayne. You know, I began just last week. He drove all the way across town in the rain. to get me that rezu I was craving. I noticed his expression darken ever so slightly. He's always doing thoughtful things like that. Remember when my car broke down? Wayne came straight over and handled everything. The girls nodded and murmured their approval, though Jessica shot me one of her knowing looks. She'd always been the perceptive one in the group. And he's so generous, I continued, my voice dripping with sweetness. He never makes me feel bad about anything. You know how some guys can be so stingy? Wayne's knuckles whitened as he gripped his water glass, and I suppressed a smile. This was too much fun. As the evening went on, we ordered 2 bottles of Dom Perignon, because why stop at one when you're celebrating? When the dessert menu arrived, Wayne gave me a subtle shake of his head, but I ignored him. The chocolate souffle is to die for, I declared. Let's get one for each of us. The waiter kept the drinks flowing, and I made sure to order another round whenever someone's glass looked even remotely low. Wayne sat quietly, his discomfort growing with every passing minute. Poor guy. He really thought he could handle a woman like me. To Christina. Madison raised her champagne flute with a giggle. And to Wayne for being such a gentleman tonight. I beamed and squeezed Wayne's hand, but he didn't return the gesture. Instead, he looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. It was unsettling, but I brushed it off. Wayne was predictable, dependable. He'd come through like he always did, playing the gallant boyfriend role to perfection. The black leather check presenter landed on the table with a weight that felt more symbolic than literal. Christina's hand shot out, but instead of opening it, she slid it across the table toward me with a syrupy smile. Here you go, babe, she cooed, her tone thick with wine and expectation. Her friends stopped their chatter, watching like an audience waiting for the next act. I picked up the folder slowly, deliberately. Opening it, I felt my stomach tighten. The total came to $2,847.62 for a single dinner. The itemized receipt was 2 full pages of overpriced entrees and premium liquor. Somewhere buried in the middle was my grilled chicken, sandwiched between Madison's second lobster tail and the 3rd bottle of champagne. Is everything okay, sweetie? Christina's voice carried that practiced concern I'd heard so many times before. When she needed her car fixed, wanted a designer handbag, or was short on rent. I closed the folder and met her gaze. Actually, no, everything's not okay. Sorry if I scared you. The table went silent. Christina's smile wavered. This is your celebration, I said evenly. Your promotion, your guests, your choice of restaurant. So naturally, this is your bill. Her perfectly manicured hand reached out, resting on my arm. Wayne, don't be ridiculous. You're the gentleman here. You wouldn't let a table full of ladies pay, would you? Something inside me snapped. Actually, I would. My voice was calm but firm. And I'm done with this act. Christina's voice rose, tinged with panic. What are you talking about? This whole performance, I said, gesturing to the table. The way you've spent the entire night showing off how generous I am, setting up this over-the-top dinner, inviting your friends to watch me foot the bill. Did you think I wouldn't notice? Her friends shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Jessica suddenly found her napkin very interesting. Wayne, Christina hissed. Her face flushed. You're making a scene. No, you made the scene. I'm just refusing to play along. I pulled out my wallet, placed cash on the table, and handed it to the waiter. This covers my chicken, my water, and a generous tip for dealing with all of this. Christina's eyes widened in disbelief. You can't be serious. Wayne, please. I am serious. I stood feeling lighter than I had in months. You spent so much time thinking you were manipulating me, you never realized I was watching. And tonight was the final test. One you failed spectacularly. Layton, her voice cracked as I pushed in my chair. I turned and walked out, leaving Christina and her stunned friends behind. I turned to face Christina's friends. Ladies, this has been quite the lesson, I began. Christina's right about one thing. I am generous. But let's be clear, I'm not a cash machine, and I'm certainly not a fool. As I started to leave, Christina called after me, her tone a mix of desperation and anger. I paused briefly at the edge of the table, turned back, and did something totally out of character for the dependable Wayne she thought she had all figured out. I raised my middle finger in a sharp salute. To strong, successful women, I said, echoing her earlier toast. I'm sure you've got the bill covered. The sheer shock on Christina's face as I walked out of LeBlanc was worth more than any overpriced meal. For the first time in our relationship, I was the one wearing the grin. Have you ever felt your perfectly curated world crumble right in front of you? Try sitting at the best table in a swanky restaurant, surrounded by your closest friends, staring down a bill large enough to cover a month's rent, all while your once compliant boyfriend strides out the door. Did he just flip us off? Madison's voice cut through the stunned silence. My hands trembled as I fumbled for my phone, frantically pulling up Wayne's number. Straight to voicemail. Again and again. The leather check folder loomed on the table like a ticking time bomb, and I could feel the pity creeping into my friend's expressions. Girls, don't worry, I'm sure my card can handle it, I said, with a laugh that sounded more like a squeak. Digging through my designer handbag, the one Wayne had bought me just last month, I pulled out my credit card. The thought left a bitter taste in my mouth. Under the elegant lighting, the card felt flimsy in my hand. I handed it to the waiter. Declined. Of course it was declined. I'd maxed it out buying the outfit I was wearing tonight, fully assuming Wayne would cover this bill like he always did. No problem, I said, my voice pitching higher. Let me try another. Declined again. Jessica cleared her throat awkwardly. Christina, maybe we could just split it? The humiliation hit harder than the overpriced whiskey sour I'd been sipping all evening. One by one, my friends pulled out their cards, each chipping in what they could. I watched as they divided up the bill I had so confidently racked up, silently calculating how much I'd have to pay each of them back. I'll Venmo you all tomorrow, I promised weakly. This is just a temporary thing. The drive home was a blur of angry tears and increasingly frantic calls to Wayne. Around midnight, he finally picked up. Well, 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 he answered, his voice sharper and colder than I'd ever heard. If it isn't the strong, successful woman calling. Wayne, what the hell? Do you have any idea how humiliating that was? Humiliating, he said with a bitter laugh. You want to talk about embarrassing? How about being paraded around like a personal credit card? Or listening to you boast all night about how you manipulate me? Don't even try denying it. I heard you in the bathroom telling Jessica how you had me wrapped around your finger. Guess that finger isn't as powerful as you thought. My stomach dropped. He'd heard that? Wayne, baby, I was just joking. You know how girls talk, I said, my voice turning pleading. No, Christina, that's exactly who you are. The real you, the one who sees people as tools. Well, guess what? This tool just grew a backbone. Please, I tried one last time, my voice breaking. Can we talk about this? Oh, now you want to talk? Fine. Here's something to talk about. Go screw yourself. And don't ever mistake love and kindness for weakness again. The line went dead. When I tried calling back, I was met with the automated message he'd blocked me. I collapsed onto my couch, tears streaking my face, and opened my banking app. Between repaying my friends and covering my bills, I'd be living on ramen for weeks. My group chat buzzed with new messages, probably my friends dissecting tonight's disaster. Stupid Wayne, I muttered, kicking off my designer heels. Who does he think he is, acting all high and mighty like he's better than me? But even as I said it, a small voice inside whispered the truth. He was better than me. He had figured out who I really was and had the guts to walk away. Grabbing my phone again, I scrolled through my contacts. There had to be another Wayne out there, another sweet, generous guy I could mold into the perfect replacement. Maybe the IT guy who always stared at me during meetings? After all, why change your ways when you can just change your target? But as I scrolled, I couldn't shake the image of Wayne's final smile. It wasn't sweet or accommodating, it was triumphant. For the first time, I'd been outplayed at my own game. And the worst part, deep down, I respected him for it.